Nestled in the vibrant heart of Miami's upscale Brickell neighborhood, Azure, a restaurant celebrated for its exquisite seafood and breathtaking Biscayne Bay views, epitomized luxury. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow on impeccably set tables, each adorned with fine linens and gleaming silverware. Azure wasn't just a place to eat. It was a destination, a stage for the city's elite to see and be seen. Isabella, a seasoned waitress at Azure, navigated the dining room with practiced grace. Her sleek ponytail, crisp white uniform, and carefully applied makeup created an image of efficiency and sophistication. For Isabella, working at Azure wasn't just a job, it was a statement. It elevated her, or so she believed. She had cultivated a knack for quickly assessing patrons, mentally categorizing them based on their attire, demeanor, and the car she had seen them step out of. Some people just don't belong here, she often thought, a silent gatekeeper of Azure's perceived exclusivity. The restaurant's revolving doors whirred softly as a man entered. He wore a faded t-shirt, cargo pants that had seen better days, and a simple windbreaker. His presence was understated, almost anonymous amidst the opulent surroundings. He approached the maitre d' with a quiet confidence. This was Alex Vargas, a tech mogul who had made his fortune with a revolutionary software company. He wasn't one for ostentatious displays of wealth, preferring comfort and anonymity over the trappings of fame. Yet, beneath the unassuming exterior lay a heart of gold and a sharp mind that had reshaped an industry. Isabella was deep in conversation with the maitre d', Raphael, about seating arrangements for a prominent influencer when she noticed Alex. She paused mid-sentence, her gaze narrowing as she discreetly scanned him from head to toe. He looked nothing like the typical Azure clientele. Suppressing a scoff, she tilted her head, her eyes lingering on his worn sneakers. "Good evening," she said, her voice laced with a carefully constructed politeness that quickly dissolved. "Do you have a reservation?" "No, I don't," Alex replied, his tone calm and polite. Isabella raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow, as if she had heard something truly outrageous. Her expression seemed to question his audacity. She folded her arms across her chest, her practiced smile vanishing completely. "Are you sure you're in the right place? This is a very exclusive restaurant." Alex maintained his composure, unfazed by her thinly veiled condescension. "Yes, I believe so," he replied evenly. Isabella let out a short, incredulous laugh, shaking her head slightly. "Okay, just a moment. Let me see what I can do." She turned abruptly, not bothering to maintain even a semblance of courtesy, and headed to the reservation podium. There, she tapped at the computer, searching for his name with exaggerated flair. When nothing appeared, she rolled her eyes and returned to the dining area, visibly annoyed. "Well, as I suspected, we don't have a reservation under that name," she announced, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "We do have a few tables available, but just so you know, this isn't exactly a casual dining establishment." Alex remained unperturbed, his calm demeanor seemingly irritating her even more. "I'd still like to dine here," he replied, his tone unchanged. Isabella let out an exaggerated sigh, grabbing a menu with a dismissive motion. "All right, but I'll have to seat you in a suitable area. Follow me." She began walking briskly through the dining room, without looking back to see if he was following. When they reached a table tucked away near the restrooms, far from the glittering bay view and the lively ambiance, she dropped the menu on the table with an audible thud. "Here you go. This table is perfect for you," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "If you need anything, let me know, but only if it's absolutely necessary, okay?" Alex maintained his slight smile, ignoring her tone. "Thank you. I'm sure this will be an interesting experience." As she walked away, Isabella muttered under her breath, loud enough for a nearby couple to hear. "He won't last 5 minutes here. Bet he'll leave as soon as he opens the menu." Across the dining room, Alex calmly opened the menu, his eyes scanning the options without haste. The soft sounds of a live Latin band filled the air, but something about his posture exuded an air of quiet confidence, as if nothing could disturb his serenity. From the other side of the room, Isabella watched with a smug smile, certain that he would soon be asking for the check and disappearing into the Miami night. As Alex sat patiently, observing the lively atmosphere, Isabella continued her silent campaign of discouragement. She took her time approaching his table, attending to other patrons, engaging in extended conversations, and generally making sure he felt like an unwelcome guest. When she finally did arrive, her demeanor was anything but professional. She leaned over the table, her voice dripping with condescension. "Have you decided what you'd like, or are you still trying to decipher the menu?" she asked, her tone laced with mockery. Alex, unfazed, pointed to the most expensive item on the menu. "The Chilean sea bass with saffron risotto. It sounds exquisite." Isabella stifled a laugh, covering her mouth with one hand as if trying to hold back a snide comment. "Oh, of course, the sea bass," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "A very sophisticated choice. Just to confirm, sir, you do realize that this dish costs $85. Alex nodded, his calm demeanor unchanging. "Yes, it sounds wonderful." She tilted her head, her lips curling into a malicious smile. "All right then. Just to make sure there aren't any misunderstandings later, I suggest you double-check the prices. We wouldn't want anyone to have any unpleasant surprises." Alex remained unfazed, which seemed to irritate her even more. "I'm certain," he said calmly. Isabella let out a dramatic sigh, as if she were doing him a huge favor, and scribbled down the order. "Very well, as you wish. But I'll warn you, our chef prefers dishes like this to be enjoyed by those who truly appreciate fine dining. I hope it meets your expectations." She spun on her heels again, but before leaving, she stopped and turned back. "Oh, and one more thing. The minimum expected tip here is 20%. Keep that in mind while you enjoy." As he waited, Alex seemed entirely unaffected by the discomfort Isabella was trying to create. He glanced around the dining room, admiring the elegant decor and the band's performance. His calm presence contrasted sharply with Isabella's hostility. When the appetizer arrived, Isabella practically slammed the plate down, causing it to slide slightly across the table. "Here's your appetizer. I hope you enjoy it, or at least know what you're eating," she said with a mocking smile. Alex thanked her politely. "Thank you." Isabella leaned in slightly, as if trying to provoke a reaction. "You know, a lot of customers who order this appetizer end up not liking it. It's not exactly mainstream, but I think you'll do just fine. Good luck." Alex looked at her with the same calm expression as always. "It looks excellent. Thank you for your concern." Frustrated that she couldn't elicit any negative reaction from him, Isabella walked away quickly, muttering something to a coworker. "That guy won't even make it to the main course. He's going to ask for the check as soon as he sees the bill." Meanwhile, Alex continued to eat his appetizer leisurely, savoring each bite. Across the dining room, Isabella watched from a distance, her arms crossed, a malicious smile plastered across her face as she noticed that he seemed to be taking his time, enjoying the ambiance. "I bet he's going to ask for tap water," she commented to another staff member, who visibly ignored her. However, a distinguished woman at a nearby table observed the scene. She raised her glass of champagne and silently toasted in Alex's direction, who responded with a slight nod and a smile. The woman, a renowned philanthropist named Elena Rodriguez, was known for her sharp eye and unwavering sense of justice. She saw Isabella's blatant disrespect and felt a growing sense of indignation. Dinner was only just beginning, but Isabella's growing disdain wouldn't go unnoticed for much longer. Instead of immediately relaying Alex's order to the kitchen, Isabella made a deliberate point of prioritizing the patrons she deemed more deserving. She stopped to chat with a glamorous couple near the window, flirted with a group of businessmen at the bar, and even delivered a complimentary cocktail to a table occupied by a well-known socialite. Meanwhile, time ticked by, and Alex continued to wait patiently. In an attempt to further provoke him, Isabella repeatedly walked past his table, pretending to be busy. Each time he glanced in her direction, she averted her eyes and quickened her pace, as if she were too occupied to attend to him. After an unusually long wait, Alex was approached by Elena Rodriguez, the woman who had subtly toasted him earlier. She walked over to his table with an air of quiet authority. "Excuse me, young man," she said, her voice firm but kind. "I hope you don't mind my intruding, but I've been observing your situation. I must say, I'm appalled by the service you've received." Alex smiled gently. No worries, ma'am. I appreciate your concern. Elena shook her head, her eyes filled with disapproval. This is simply unacceptable. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of their attire or appearance. I will not stand idly by while someone is treated so poorly. Before Alex could respond, Isabella suddenly appeared, interrupting their conversation with a forced smile. Is there a problem here? She asked, her tone overly sweet. Elena turned to face Isabella, her gaze unwavering. Yes, there is a problem. I find your behavior towards this gentleman to be utterly disgraceful. He has been waiting far too long for his meal, and your attitude has been nothing short of rude and unprofessional. Isabella's face flushed with anger, but she struggled to maintain her composure in front of Elena. I'm doing my best to attend to all of my tables. Perhaps this gentleman should have made a reservation. Elena scoffed, unimpressed by Isabella's excuse. That is irrelevant. Every customer deserves to be treated with courtesy and respect, regardless of whether they have a reservation or not. Alex raised his hand slightly, attempting to defuse the situation. Ladies, please. It's really not necessary. Elena ignored him, her attention still focused on Isabella. I suggest you improve your attitude and provide this gentleman with the service he deserves. Otherwise, I will be speaking to the manager myself. With that, Elena turned and walked back to her table, leaving Isabella fuming and Alex feeling slightly embarrassed. When Isabella finally decided to bring Alex his main course, she made sure to take as long as possible. First, she lingered in the kitchen, chatting with the chefs and leaving the dish sitting under the warming lamp, allowing it to become slightly dry and lukewarm. Then, she returned to the dining room, attending to other tables and completely ignoring the ready plate. Finally, when she deemed the time was right, she grabbed the dish and marched over to Alex's table, placing it down with a deliberate lack of care. Here's your sea bass, she said, her voice devoid of warmth. I hope it meets your discerning taste. Alex thanked her politely, inspecting the dish with a critical eye. Thank you, it looks interesting. Isabella smirked, sensing an opportunity to provoke him further. Oh, it's very interesting. Our chef prides himself on using only the finest ingredients. But of course, some people may not be able to fully appreciate the subtleties of such a refined dish. Alex remained unfazed, his expression betraying nothing. He picked up his fork and took a small bite, chewing slowly and thoughtfully. After a moment, he swallowed and set down his fork, his face still unreadable. Isabella leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. So, what do you think? Is it to your liking? Or perhaps it's a bit too sophisticated for your palate? Alex paused for a moment, creating a dramatic effect. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm and measured. Actually, he said, I think it's terrible. Isabella's face lit up with triumph. I knew it, she exclaimed. I knew you wouldn't be able to appreciate it. Perhaps you should have ordered something more, suitable for your tastes. A burger, perhaps? Alex shook his head, his expression still unreadable. No, he said. The ingredients are clearly of the highest quality, and the presentation is impeccable. But the fish is overcooked, the risotto is bland, and the saffron is barely detectable. It's simply not up to par. Isabella's face fell. She had expected him to complain about the cost or the unfamiliar flavors, not to offer a detailed critique of the dish's preparation. She stammered, trying to regain her composure. Well, I'm sure the chef did his best. Perhaps you're just not used to such delicate flavors. Alex smiled slightly, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Perhaps, he said. But I've eaten at some of the finest restaurants in the world, and I know when a dish is not prepared properly. Isabella, thoroughly flustered, turned and stormed off to the kitchen, muttering to herself about pretentious customers and culinary snobs. Meanwhile, Alex continued to sit at his table, a faint smile playing on his lips. As Alex waited for the check, Isabella decided to take her passive aggression to a whole new level. She began to loudly complain to her co-workers about the difficult customer who didn't appreciate fine dining and had the audacity to criticize the chef's masterpiece. She made sure her voice carried throughout the dining room, hoping to embarrass Alex and make him feel even more unwelcome. Several patrons began to notice the commotion, including Elena Rodriguez, who was growing increasingly incensed by Isabella's behavior. She decided that she had had enough and rose from her table, determined to intervene. Before she could reach Alex, however, the restaurant manager, Ricardo, appeared at his table, his face etched with concern. He had overheard Isabella's complaints and sensed that something was amiss. "Mr. Vargas," Ricardo said, his voice filled with apology. "I am so sorry for the unacceptable service you have received this evening. There is absolutely no excuse for the way you have been treated." Isabella's face turned ashen as she realized that the manager knew who Alex was. She watched in horror as Ricardo bowed slightly, his eyes filled with respect. "Please, allow me to personally take care of you for the rest of the evening," Ricardo continued. "Anything you desire is on the house. It would be an honor to make amends for this unfortunate incident." Alex smiled warmly. "Thank you, Ricardo. I appreciate the gesture, but there's no need for that. I simply want to speak with your staff for a few minutes, if that's all right." Ricardo nodded eagerly. "Of course, Mr. Vargas. Anything you wish." He turned to Isabella, his expression hardening. "Isabella, you are relieved of your duties for the rest of the evening. Please go home." Isabella, her eyes filled with tears, stammered an apology, but Ricardo cut her off. "Just go," he said, his voice stern. As Isabella hurried away, Alex stood up, his gaze sweeping across the dining room. He addressed the other patrons, his voice calm and steady. "I apologize for the disruption," he said. "I simply wanted to make a point about the importance of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their appearance or background. This restaurant should be a place where everyone feels welcome, and I will do everything in my power to ensure that it is." The dining room erupted in applause as patrons showed their support for Alex's message. Elena Rodriguez approached him, extending her hand. "Mr. Vargas," she said, "I commend you for your courage and your compassion. You have taught us all a valuable lesson tonight." Alex smiled, shaking her hand warmly. "Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. It was the least I could do." After the dining room closed, Alex gathered the entire staff together for a meeting. He spoke to them about the importance of empathy, respect, and treating every customer with dignity. He shared his own experiences of being judged and underestimated, and he challenged them to look beyond appearances and see the humanity in every person they encountered. He concluded his remarks with a message of hope and forgiveness. "We all make mistakes," he said. "The important thing is to learn from them and strive to do better in the future." Following the meeting, Alex approached Isabella, who was sitting alone in the break room, her face buried in her hands. He sat down beside her, his voice gentle. "Isabella," he said, "I know you're feeling ashamed and embarrassed right now, but I want you to know that I don't hold a grudge against you. I believe that you have the potential to be a great waitress, but you need to learn to treat people with kindness and respect." Isabella looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "I know, Mr. Vargas," she said. "I was wrong. I let my prejudices cloud my judgment, and I treated you terribly. I'm so sorry." Alex smiled. "I appreciate your apology, Isabella, but the most important thing is that you learn from this experience and make a commitment to change your behavior in the future." He offered her a hand, and she took it, her grip firm and sincere. "I will, Mr. Vargas," she said. "I promise you, I will." As Alex left the restaurant that night, he felt a sense of satisfaction. He had not only stood up for himself, but had also inspired others to be more compassionate and understanding. He had turned a negative experience into a valuable lesson, demonstrating the power of humility, forgiveness, and the importance of treating every human being with dignity and respect. What if we all made a conscious effort to challenge our own biases and treat everyone with kindness, regardless of their appearance or background? What kind of world could we create if we chose to see the humanity in every person we encountered? Remember, true wealth isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the richness of our character and the depth of our compassion. We hope this story has inspired you to reflect on your own interactions and to embrace the power of kindness. May you always be surrounded by health and happiness. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales of hope, resilience, and the transformative power of human connection.